Rob always wanted to be a soldier. It's something that runs in our family. And I think another important factor was Rob's sense of appreciation for the freedom and opportunity we have in this country.
Rob was full of energy. He enjoyed being very active. He enjoyed challenging people a little bit.
Always on the move, pulling chairs over to counters and tables and climbing up and getting into things.
We never really knew what to expect. One day we'd have the tuba, and the next day we'd have a pommel horse in the garage. It's just always something new.
Rob was an amazing leader, probably one of the best leaders I ever had. He led not necessarily always by the spoken word, but by doing, by showing.
I could look at him and say, you go take care of that because here's the deal, and snap. He'd be, focus in, things would happen. When I needed to count on him and call on him, always there.
He was a go-getter. If he couldn't figure out how to do it, he would. Special Forces was written all over him before he even got out of high school.
I would describe Rob as honorable, trustworthy, responsible, fun, quick to laugh, and he had that sense of pride and honor at even such a young age, to the point where I've never seen it since.
I saw Rob being kind of a seeker of values. Rob was really fascinated with Hemingway's idea of a code hero, the idea that you can be destroyed but not defeated, grace under pressure. Being that outward leader was something that he really took to heart.
His leadership in gymnastics, his leadership at school, his leadership in a family, that translated so much easier into his military.
I knew he'd be a good leader. I knew that it was kind of that sense of leadership and that sense of honor was part of who he was. You could tell that about him even at high school, and you just kind of knew that he'd be great at it.
When Rob told me that he was going to join the Army, I knew it was coming, so it wasn't a surprise. We just didn't know when. I thought he might try to go a few more years in college, but he decided it was time.
We grew to love Robbie because Robbie's Robbie.
He brought something to the team that nobody else had, like a zest for life, his youth, which infected everybody.
Well, we live vicariously through Robbie. He'll leave on Friday, come back home talking about his exploits, and you're like, yeah, I've done that now. Because Robbie did it, he had the freedom to come and go as he wanted. Hey, I'm gonna go, there's a hurricane coming, and it's gonna hit North Carolina, the shores of North Carolina. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go surf. Really, Robbie? That's Robbie.
It took us a while before we realized Robbie was a gymnast, and when we found out, it was game on. Everybody else kept trying, push that one button on him about being a gymnast, and didn't affect him at all. He was proud of it.
He spoke, about 5, 6 different languages.
He would sit down and try to learn Pashto with the partnered force that we were working in so that he could give commands.
He spoke his Pashtun to the point that he was like a celebrity on our fire base. Robbie instantly gained a particular trust with the locals when we came around, and a lot of people up and down the valley, knew who Robbie was.
I remember a lot of times when we'd be shooting, we'd have the young kids from the village trying to get in close to our trucks. So he'd wrestle with them, and nothing too hard, but just kind of like he would, because he was an older brother to the kids.
The Afghans were out there playing the game. I forgot the name of the game. One of the Afghans came around and offered the horse, and Robbie jumped on to say within about the next 15 minutes he was racing, doing racetracks with all this. Must have been about 20, 25 Afghans on horses. He was flying straight for a tree, and he threw his hands all the way back, leaned back, branched right over his body, and then he popped back up on the horse, and he was back racing again. I'll never forget that. It was pretty awesome what he did.
I could tell that Robbie made an impact on the kids, because a couple weeks after Robbie was killed, going out and telling the kids that Robbie had been killed, and some of the kids started crying. They really enjoyed interacting with him, and he had made an impact even on some of the younger kids in the village around the fire base.
We planned for a different mission that evening. We received intel that there was something going on a little farther north than what we planned on.
It was completely unexpected. We figured, all right, small element, 10 guys, and we just unleashed on them. By the time that we're dismounted to go over there, we really thought it was battle damage assessment.
We crossed the Gowerdesh Bridge north of where we had attacked the compound. We were looking for, bodies, clothing, drag marks, blood, all the signs that people died. The next thing I heard was Allah Akbar, and some gunshots go off.
We heard a cry, And then we heard a heavy belt-fed weapon open up, and then we heard Robbie's weapon open up.
You know, Robbie pulling trigger on the squad automatic weapon, that's very noticeable.
You can distinctly hear the saw shooting. You can see it too because the muzzle flash was so bright. Robbie started engaging targets, and there was quite a few dudes. I couldn't believe we had walked that close up to him.
It's just very chaotic trying to figure out the whole fog of war thing definitely applies in this situation.
What I was thinking about is how I'm going to get my guys back across this river because the situation's going south real quick.
Nick McGarry was like, get down, and as soon as he said that, a bullet whizzed past between the both of us, and we were like, oh man. Next thing we know is, we hear Captain Cusick say he was hit.
I heard the radio call, I'm hit, I'm hit.
About a minute or so later, Robbie said, break contact.
Robbie's not one to run from a fight. It wasn't in Robbie to not take the fight to the enemy. He knew our captain was hit. At that point, Robbie's the only one on the ground up there, and he probably realized that he needed to create some white space for the team to consolidate and to help out the captain.
And I heard Robbie shoot the rest of his rounds off, and at that point I was waiting for him to say, moving. And I look up, and he's on his back.
Staff Sergeant Miller.
Rob, Gutierrez, and myself got up, and we ran to his location. He was gasping for air. His eyes were skyward.
Staff Sergeant Robert Miller.
Your best friend. Your teammate. He was he wasn't that Robbie that we all knew.
Staff Sergeant Robert James Miller.
Obviously, I'm very proud. All of us wonder, can we perform the same way and keep our head and do what we have to do in an extreme situation like that?
When I heard that he had sacrificed his life for others, that did help us a lot in dealing with the grief, that we knew that his death was not in vain.
He loved his family, he loved his friends, he loved the work that he was doing, and the way that he died was how I know he would have wanted to die.
Robbie was the definition of dedication. The hard part is just, he's just gone.
The Medal of Honor for Rob, to me, is awarding his character. And it was an outgrowth of his character that created the opportunity for his actions that was in Rob already.
It represents the gratitude of the country and the fact our son will become part of the written history of the United States is a moment that I'm not sure I appreciate adequately yet.
When he died, a little bit of us died with him, but a lot of him lived on in us. It's influenced my life enough to want to become a better soldier and a better husband, a better father, and do what I can to honor his name whenever I put on a uniform.